Space is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is an Overreaction Monday edition of the show. And we're going to start things off. And I know there's a lot of people who won't like it because they'll come up with a reason to justify the fact that it shouldn't be said. But Greg Berhalter has done his job pretty freaking good, huh? He got it right. The bet that we talked about last week was that he could go first choice in Mexico and that it wouldn't affect the Panama game. 4 points out of the 2. That bet cashed in a big way last night, and he nailed it, and he needs to get that credit. We had this exact same conversation last summer after he won 2 finals against Mexico. He deserves credit. If you're going to be somebody who is anti, everything's terrible, you can't try to twist yourself into a pretzel and find a way to take credit away from the decisions that he has made. You don't have to like all the decisions. You can still have your gripes about this, that, or the other, but it has to stop with this. He's not good. He needs to be fired. Blah, blah, blah. Stop it. Stop it. Greg Berhalter made the decisions that I wouldn't have made. I would have been too worried about fitness coming into the Orlando game. I would have went with more of a second team. I think there is an incorrect assumption that would have resulted in a loss. You never know. But I would have bet that way, more worried about the Panama game. Greg has a belief in his team. Greg has an understanding of the way that the buttons need to be pushed with these guys. And Greg Berhalter got it right. He hasn't gotten everything right. No coach does. You can ask the best of coaches. Roberto Mancini was on the top of the world in the summer. Top of the world winning the Euros. People are talking about him as somebody, well, this team should be looking at him. This team should be looking at him. Yeah, look at what he has done. He's not going to the World Cup. It happens. Coaches make decisions that some fans don't like, and coaches make decisions that result in bad results. These things happen. But the record is undeniable at this point. You cannot find the crumb in the pretzel to make it okay to slander the guy. You can't. You can't. Making a decision about playing an MLS player, which, by the way, worked out pretty good last night, eh? Just because you don't like MLS, you can't pull that anymore. You just can't. He won 2 finals in a year. He beat Mexico twice. He went to the Azteca and got a result. Had the best performance that the U.S. has had in an official match at the Azteca, by the way. The players performed for him. Give him that credit. And he got it right in these 2 games. Now, they're not in yet, of course. They can't lose by 6 against Costa Rica. No, they can't go in there and sit down, and they're not going to forfeit. Don't give me that nonsense either. Oh, it's only a 3-0 loss. It's okay. No, shut up. Stop. Just stop. They're going to go and play, and they're going to be fine, and they're going to go to the World Cup after missing out last time. Give the guy credit. Not saying you got to go put a Greg Berhalter poster up on your wall. I'm not saying you have to write a long Twitter thread about how great he is. Trust me, I know you won't anyway. But if you're one of those people, you've got to give him some credit. And don't counter it with a but. Don't have a but. You have too many MLS guys on the field. Shut up. Just stop. Give Greg Berhalter credit. He's not the greatest coach in the history of the planet, but he's done a very good job. And I know that really rankles some people for some crazy reason who say they're supporters of the national team. The coach doing a good job shouldn't be rankling. It shouldn't upset anybody. He got it right when I thought he'd gotten it wrong with the lineup in the Azteca. Other people did. Other people thought he got it right. Plenty of other decisions he's made that some people have liked, some people haven't. He's got the job for a reason, and he's done a good job. And he gets him qualified. He deserves to be celebrated for that fact. He deserved to be celebrated more for what he did in the summer. Didn't get much of that. That turned really fast. Whatever, that's fine. Roberto Mancini knows how that goes too. But you have to give him some credit for the decisions he made over these last 2 games. It wasn't easy, missing a whole bunch of people. He got the lineups right. He got the performances. He got this team doing exactly what he wanted. Good on him. Good on the players for big performances last night. They didn't let this thing linger. They didn't let it hang around and let Panama grow into it. Nothing. They put pressure on them from the jump, and they didn't stop. That's what's so impressive about last night. The mentality, dead on. Coach gets a lot of credit for that. Give Greg Berhalter some props. And if you're going to try to find reasons not to, you should probably just stop tweeting and delete your Steve B 564832 account with an egg as a picture. Just go home. Delete the app. One day, he'll get a little bit more credit, hopefully. He should get it today. Great job by Greg Berhalter and his team last night. We're going to get started with some reactions. We got Bart Keeler coming on in about 15 minutes. He was there in Orlando. Jarrett, what'd you think about last night?
I think I was wrong because I thought he got – what?
No, it happened. Yeah, it happens. Like, I was wrong too.
Because I didn't love the way he went about it, mostly because I was still mad that I thought they should have won in Mexico, and I was worried that they're rotating last night, that they were gonna piddle around and
I don't think he. Now, hold on one second, Jared. I do want to clarify. I don't think he chose to rotate last night after Mexico. I don't think that's the case at all.
Well, you also have Montezuma's like
that. That's the case. Like, yeah, he could. I think Gio Reyna would have started. Gio Reyna reportedly had I think it was termed as a stomach bug on FS1. Team ops guys, come on, you guys should know better.
You can't let these guys eat or drink. You gotta regulate everything.
No, sin hielo. No ice, no tap water, no nothing. Come on. We should know better than this. I don't think he chose to rotate at all last night. I don't think that was any part of his decision. I think he had to go with what he had to go with.
I was worried they were going to come out and I don't even know if being flat is the word, but I guess like after expending all that energy and the emotions of Wednesday in Mexico City, I was worried it was going to be a bit flat, and they were going to leave it late and get in a situation where it's 50th, 60th minute. Panama's got some confidence. Panama's feeling good about themselves, and you get into a weird situation. No, they scored 3 goals within 30 minutes. The degree to which they just killed the damn thing off was hilarious, and it was very nice to see. It was very cool to like have a World Cup qualifier that was incredibly not stressful. Like in the time it took for me to fire up the stream so I could dual watch that in the twos last night, the game was pretty much in the bag.
I was very thankful for that, by the way, because I did not want to be giving myself whiplash, turning to my left to see what the U.S. was doing and watching the game in front of me. I didn't want that live. Thank you.
It was very impressive to see, and I did not expect it at all. I thought I would not have done it the way Greg did, and he did it his way. He stuck by it, and he followed through with it, and the players completely bought into it and performed really, really well. So it's credit to Greg for having a plan, sticking with it, and that plan working. It's a credit to the players for believing in it and executing it, and going out there. And like I said, they removed all doubt pretty damn quick in that game. That was, I believe, it was friend of the show, Kelly Francis, talked about having that killer mentality of don't let this linger. Don't let this be like 3-1, you coast, and they get a goal in the early in the second half and it gets a little tight. No, they just went out there and pummeled them into oblivion. And you give up the late goal. Who cares at that point? At that point, it's irrelevant.
It affected the goal differential, though, Jared. I'm sure somebody's yelling about it somewhere out there in the bird app.
Okay. So, a friend of mine who's not a huge soccer fan messaged me last night, and he's getting in. He's like a lot of people. He pays attention during the World Cup, during the major tournaments, that sort of thing. And he asked me. He said, how do you feel about Costa Rica? They can't lose 5-0. And I told him, I said, I'm going to prep you by telling you that they lost 4-0 last time they were in Costa Rica in a World Cup qualifier, and I'm going to qualify this by telling you that was the end of the Jurgen Klinsmann era. And when I tell you that team was broken, it doesn't do justice to the state of that team at the time.
No, that was the last game for Jurgen.
That game was an abomination to God and man. There were a lot of issues then. Also, this is not the same Costa Rica team that it was then.
No.
You don't have to forfeit this game.
No,
I think we'll be
no.
fine.
Oh, no, no.
You'll be
No.
fine. That's not the same Costa Rica team by any stretch of the imagination. Also, as it was pointed out by a couple people online, and this is an interesting situation for Costa Rica. They have, I think, 4 or 5 guys that are one
Yes.
yellow away from accumulation suspension. I'm wondering if they don't bench all of those guys with the idea of, hey, even if everyone played, we're not beating the U.S. 5-0.
Yes.
So let's rest everybody that we need to rest who is on a yellow card accumulation because they're not going to play the qualifier like next weekend. Let's rest everybody who's on accumulation and make sure that we don't lose them for the 1-round knockout game.
Yeah, Coco, it's not about yellows carrying over. It's about if they get that next yellow that would have them suspended, they would miss the playoff. So it's Francisco Calvo, it's Joel Campbell, it's Celso Borges, and Brian Oviedo. I wouldn't be shocked if none of them play.
I wouldn't play them if I were them. If it was the United States in this situation and you told me, hey, half your midfield is on yellow accumulation and you have to beat so-and-so by a 5-0 scoreline, I would be in the boat of, okay, don't play them. If we can't get knocked out of World Cup qualifying if we lose, and we would have to win by a historic margin to get into the automatic spot.
Now,
okay, bench those guys and just roll with it. And
to be clear, Jarrett, Mexico is in a thinner margin than the U.S. You still have to win, I think, 3-0 to have a shot there if Mexico loses. So
Taka says
you're
it's
then
14 guys on yellow concern. Jesus.
Yeah, not all of those guys are in the team, though.
Oh, yeah. That's an amazing number, though.
Something that shifted with Costa Rica, and I think it's important to know here coming into this, is one of the big reasons for their resurgence, because they were in a horrible spot not that long ago. They won 5 of their last 6, and this roster, Luis Fernando Suarez, called in 20 domestic players. That's 5 more than he was calling in before. He did a bunch of mini camps, and he went and he basically found domestic players that fit what he wanted to do. Anthony Contreras, who was the star last night, is a big example of that. He was at Herediano. He's been on loan. He's at a club that I have never heard of in Costa Rica, Guanacasteca, which is in the northwest of the country. That's where he's playing right now. They went and he got guys that he could basically work with to mold a little bit of a team for these games. So far, so good. I don't think they can turn it all the way they want with this result, but they at least have that opportunity. If you're looking for info like that, John Arnold's CONCACAF newsletter, make sure you subscribe. It's a must read. It was a must read throughout the qualifiers. It will continue to be a must read with everything with CONCACAF Champions League, all the different leagues in CONCACAF, all of it. John, your takes before we get to Bart here coming up.
No, I like Jarrett. I'm sure that there were a lot of folks that were sitting there after what happened at the Azteca and were anticipating hanging around, and then that moment in the 60th where everybody could sit there and say, "Whoa, you were wrong, Greg Berhalter." But going back all the way to the beginning, I thought that, I'm on the list too, along with Steve 564382, and that's at the beginning, where there were some decisions that he would make along the way, meaning Greg Berhalter, that I didn't agree with, and there were alarm bells and all that kind of stuff. But as we have gone through this process, he has gotten it right. I was with you. I thought the approach at the Azteca was going to be different, leaning into the Panama match, meaning that this was the one that you needed to get the 3 points, but you got the result at the Azteca. You end up getting the big win that you got in Panama. And for people who are crapping on Major League Soccer players being involved as a part of your qualification process, I don't think you need to look any further than your back line and what you've seen with the pairing of Walker Zimmerman and Miles Robinson and what they have been able to do as a pair together. I think was Tom Bogert came out with a stat in the 8 matches that they were together. It's 7 wins and a draw with those two as your center backs.
Yeah, that pairing has worked very well. It was Tom Bogert. 8 games together, 6 clean sheets, 2 goals conceded. 1 was a penalty. The other was after Miles was subbed out last night. 7 wins, 1 draw, plus 18 goal difference with the Zimmerman-Miles Robinson combo.
And so Greg Berhalter has gotten all of this right. And for everyone who's waiting for the Wile E. Coyote moment off of the cliff with, hanging on to the anvil and everything dropping, I think that you should be able to put that aside by now, because he's gotten everything right to this point. You need to give the guy a little credit and stop sitting there and waiting for the sky to fall. Just stop waiting for the sky to fall. Everything that he has done has been to the benefit of this one moment that's coming up in the midweek, and you're almost there. Yes, you're at the 1 yard line, and I know all that kind of stuff, but you're almost there. You're getting in. You close the deal in the midweek. Give Greg Berhalter the credit that he deserves in all of this.
Yeah, I hope he gets it. I think a couple of things. So as we grab a couple of things from the Twitch pitch, Alex Bassine says all of this just reinforces the idea that, quote, conventional wisdom is often overrated. I wouldn't go that far, Alex. I mean, conventional wisdom a lot of times is based off, past precedent, et cetera, et cetera. I think just what it shows is this game is unpredictable. And sometimes conventional wisdom is absolutely the way to go. And sometimes it's not. And I think the best coaches are the ones who can separate themselves from the noise and can understand what they are working with and where it deviates from conventional wisdom or a conventional setup. You have to know your team's personality. If you try to have your team do something that doesn't fit their personality, it's not going to work as well. This is a team that I think Greg has molded into one that has a lot of belief in itself, that has a lot of confidence. And when they play from a confident perspective, they're generally getting the job done. I think the other thing, John, you talked about how, people disagree with decisions and this and that. And I think the biggest thing about it is what we have to stop doing. And I know it's easy in this game, and I know social media lends itself to this as well about anything. It's okay to agree with this, to disagree and to agree. It's okay to have that about a decision a coach makes. The coach is the only one who can make the decision. First off, because it's their job. Second, because they have all the information. Me sitting here, reporters who follow the team very closely, they're not in the locker room. They don't know these guys. They don't know if, one of the players is struggling because of something at home. They don't know if they're struggling with something with the family. They don't know if this team just has that inner belief in the locker room they can beat anybody anywhere in the world. You don't know. You don't know if they're struggling mentally with, confidence. The people who even follow the team super closely and are there at training sessions, they don't know everything. The people who are sitting at home and have that anonymous egg account or have just an anonymous account with a random picture as their thing, they don't know either. It's okay to disagree with what Greg Berhalter or any other coach does, but we have to stop coming from a position of arrogance about it. If you disagree and you get it wrong, you're wrong. It's okay. Put your hand up. I thought he should have rotated more in the Mexico game. I thought it was all about getting ready for the Panama game. I would have played a few different people in the Mexico game. I was worried about Tyler Adams. I was worried about fitness. I was completely wrong. Cool. Chalk it up. Go ahead. And I know then the anonymous accounts will run down and say, oh, you got it wrong. Yep. That's cool. It happens. Get things right too. But it's okay to be wrong and to have your opinion end up being wrong. Admit it. Be an adult. Be an adult and admit it. But also, when you disagree with the coach on something, we have to stop in this game being so arrogant. He's the manager of the national team for a reason. It's not because of his brother, first off. You can drop that line. That should have been dropped a long time ago. His brother didn't hire him. It looked bad. And I will go back to what I said when he was hired. That role put more pressure on him, but he was qualified to get the job. Tell you what the interesting question would be if you did a random poll of El Tri fans, would they rather have Greg Berhalter or Tata Martino right now? Because there's still a large subset of the USMNT fan base, or at least the hashtag, who would say they'd rather have Tata Martino. And I think there's a large subset of the El Tri fan base who would trade you in a heartbeat not always black and white with this stuff. But we've got to drop this arrogance that you know better than these people. Get it wrong, get it wrong. We have opinions. We give you opinions on this show all the time. We get some right. We get a good number right. Plenty of things that we've talked about that have come forward. Cool. We get things wrong too. But you can't be arrogant about it and think because you have your opinion that anybody who disagrees, they're terrible, they're awful, they have an agenda. That's the one that always makes me laugh the hardest. They have an agenda. That's why they're doing this. They might actually just disagree with you. It's all good. But I hope he gets his credit. I hope the vibe around this national team changes a little bit. He got it right in a really difficult qualification cycle. He had a lot of stuff to deal with. A lot of injuries. An incident with Weston McKennie that could have torn up a lot of teams. Didn't. Then you lose Weston McKennie. You come into your final 3 games, you lose McKennie, you lose Aronson, you lose Dest. Good grief. No problems. No worries. Good on him. Work to do. Talked about it yesterday on various programs over the weekend. We had multiple programs go up on the network. If you get a chance to skim through them, please do so. But now the question will be, and I'm sure the people who have been anti-Berhalter, hashtag Berhalter out, even after he won 2 finals. I mean, it was literally the day when he won 2 finals. People are still going down that road. Now it's going to be, if he doesn't get to the World Cup final, he should be fired. We don't know first until we get the draw, which will be Friday. There is a outside chance, it's a very outside chance, that the U.S. could finish in pot 1 for the draw. They'd have to have, I think, about 5 different things happen for that to be the case. And the most unlikely one is North Macedonia beating Portugal. If Portugal gets to the World Cup, they're in pot 1. They should. I know, you got to ask Italy. I know. But they should. And then there's still 3 or 4 other things that would have to happen for the U.S. to get there. But the draw is going to determine it. It always does in the World Cup. You can't make any World Cup predictions until you know what the draw is. You just can't. You can end up in the group of death. You can end up in a group that you're like, oh, yeah, should go through. Go ask England about that in 2010, by the way. That England draw, the reaction to their draw with the U.S. in that group in 2010, they were over the moon. Didn't end up being a great tournament for them. They almost didn't get out of the group. The U.S. won that group, by the way. The draw will give us really the pathway, and we'll have a good sense. But you get out of the group stage, I'd love to see them get to a quarterfinal. I've only seen that once in my lifetime. Would love to see that. But there's no way to know until we know the pathway. You do that, there's no problems with it. I think Greg Berhalter was hired with the idea of this team becoming the team for 26. He has done nothing to change that pathway right now. He has a World Cup to deal with. And yes, things can change. They absolutely can. But he hasn't really given us an indication that it's heading that way. So we will see. Let's see what this guy has to say, because he was there last night. How's your voice, Bart? Is your voice functioning, Bart Keeler?
There we go. Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I'm working from my friend's parents' retirement community house because we are in Florida. So
are you in the villages, Bart?
We are not. No, the STDs are not here yet, like they are in the villages. Sorry. Yeah, no, my voice is here. I chugged a lot of water during and after the game, but it was fun, man. It was there was a lot to celebrate. That second half just felt like a big old party. We were up 4-0, and it felt like everything that we had feared was slipping away. Was, especially being in Orlando where we had a big victory the last time, to basically put beyond any real doubt that we'll be in Qatar was cathartic.
Yeah, definitely that. I wanted to talk about something first because you dealt with it last week a lot more than I did. But as we're seeing today with Mr. Mr. Will Smith and all the memes and all the things. I just wanted to ask you about last week and the tweet that got people going and all of it, because we've talked about it and I took it a very different way than maybe some of the other conversation then snowballed into things that I didn't think were there to begin with. What has it been like the last week for you, just dealing with all that?
I'll be real honest. The day of it was weird because I was in my feels. I was annoyed personally, and took to Twitter to vent some frustration, and that snowballed into a conversation that wasn't my intent, and definitely wasn't what I was talking about. However, it was, I'll say that I allowed my own petty inner SG drama to, cloud my logical perspective on the situation. Should have taken a pause to, I should have taken a pause to understand better the whole situation, which I knew of and I was aware of, and didn't pause to go, oh, yeah, this is the problem. And instead created a bigger problem. So, that was fun. But yeah, it was nothing. I'll be real honest. It was nothing more than me being annoyed about petty inner SG drama. And unfortunately, that is more common than anyone wants to admit. And
everywhere.
Sometimes really hard to shake off, even if you're supposed to be somewhat agnostic when it comes to that.
Yeah. I saw the tweet. I had at least enough of an inkling to know that it was more personal than anything else. I did also put my hand over my face and say, Bart, man, why'd you tweet that? But it's something that has jumped out to me about it is, and I hope this does get through the noise. One, I've never considered you a gatekeeper at all. I think you try to bring lots of different people to the game in lots of different ways, and I've always appreciated that about you. That's number one. Two, and you mentioned it on Twitter and in responses to things, it is also, I think, opened some eyes and started some conversations that are good about inclusion and about representation. And that is what the good needs to come from that. So I wanted to talk about just a little bit because, look, I figured you might need to get it off your chest. and two, I don't want narratives to run on somebody who brings a lot of good to the game. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that. Thank you for doing that, man. I agree.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is to get more people to love U.S. soccer. And, that's ultimately what I want. And unfortunately, for a good 3 hours, lost that plot for a second.
It happens to everybody. You didn't slap anybody at the Oscars, so that's a good thing.
I didn't do that. I did throw some beverages in the air last night, though.
That's okay. You didn't throw them at anybody, and
no.
they didn't make any bad jokes for you to throw them at them, right?
No, it was
in the 12 o'clock celebratory sense.
That's okay. That's okay. I think you're good. I don't think you're going to be a meme for that one.
No, like I said, it was definitely a party toward the end of that game last night, and again, you could feel the demons leaving with every goal that was scored. And I know the job isn't done. We're aware that there is still a match to be played Wednesday, and that match has to go right. And by go right, I mean there's a very specific set of circumstances in which it can go wrong. And granted, we had everything go wrong against us 4 years ago, but this is a completely different situation, something that we have much more control over, and something that, we're also locked into an intercontinental playoff berth, so that is even slightly more comforting, knowing that we're not completely missing yet, even without a result of any sort of favor in Costa Rica.
Yeah, you do have that fallback, even though we don't want it. I know these other guys have questions, but I wanted to throw one more at you. Is this kind of a performance in a game with the meaning that it had? Is it, not the first step, because I think a lot of people have maybe thought it's his team in general. Is this Christian Pulisic's team right now? Is this his era? Did he claim that last night?
Yeah, I think he did. And I think he claimed it as being really the only guy of this quote generation who played the last cycle, so it makes sense that he was the one who needed to take the team on his back. I still think that Tyler Adams might be a better captain for the team. That's a possibility.
I can buy
But
that.
I think Christian Pulisic is still a very important, maybe the most important player. I still think Weston McKennie is up there, but like maybe you can have two most important players. A lot of national teams have that, you can have two players who are vital to the success of your team. But Christian definitely, and I think he felt like we were talking about those 2017 ghosts, and he was like, nope, we're not dealing with that. Maybe he also loves playing in Orlando. He and Joseph must have that in common.
I mean, Bart, when you're present for this kind of a soccer exorcism, and I guess that's probably the best way that I can explain it, because you're the one that dropped the demons reference, and you just see the demons leaving the building there in Central Florida. When you have this kind of soccer exorcism, considering what we've been talking about this morning with Greg Berhalter and a lot of folks not giving him the credit that he has deserved to get to this point, when you've been interacting with folks during this qualification run, what has it been toward Greg Berhalter? What has public opinion been around the circle that you have when it comes to everyone looking at Greg Berhalter and where the United States national team is now?
Well, I'll be real honest. I know, certain sections of U.S. soccer media want to make this result say that, oh, well, but Greg Berhalter got it all right. And I think what I would say is our frustration is that he sometimes does get it right, but he also oftentimes makes decisions that are still weird. I mean, we still played last night with only one right back, So give Greg Berhalter a lot of credit because the Mexico strategy was perfect. And, he had enough, he knew that the guys had enough left in the tank today to go out and, execute a game plan where we knew Panama. I think we knew that Panama was either going to sit deep and try to counter, or they were going to have to play soccer, which they did at the beginning of the game. And I think once we saw that, there were not necessarily tactical adjustments, but mentality adjustments of like, okay, cool. So now we flip to the try to get balls in transition, which we did very well. So I think Greg did a great job these first two matches. I still look at him and go, so what was that match down in Panama? I still look at him and go, why did we start Leggett and Acosta as the eights against Canada? I still look at him and go, why was Leggett still on the roster when you didn't play him for so long? There are still decisions that he makes that I think deserve some sort of questioning.
Of course.
But I think, as Jason, you said, this cycle was a lot of things that was so unique to this is the first time we've had an 8-team final round, so
3-game windows.
Yeah, the 3-game windows, the COVID protocols, because the thing with McKennie, I don't think would be an issue if COVID weren't a thing.
Very possible.
There would have been a problem, but I don't think he would have been dismissed from the team the way he was. Does that make sense? Unless there was like actual wrongdoing of maybe the rumors that were out there.
Yeah.
So I give Greg.
Which, if those rumors were true, I don't think we would have seen him come back. So
but I think to answer your point, John, you have to give him credit for managing the team through this cycle, right? Because I think ultimately he managed the players he had in camp in each window pretty well. He still deserves criticism for certain decisions he makes, but right now he gave us 2 great performances against Mexico and Panama, and that's why we're sitting in a position to qualify for Qatar 2022.
So, yeah, okay, so to your point, this is something I've been yelling about for a while, about things are not black and white. There are layers to this. You can be critical of things Berhalter has said and done, at times almost tone deaf in his comments about other things, but still be impressed and happy with this. But now we get one more test of all this, and we're gonna suspend reality for a second, and I'm gonna give you the lineup sheet for better or worse. How are you handling the last game in this? In a game where, we talked about it. All you have to do is not lose 5-0. How are you just going in there and treating this exactly like another game and playing your style, or are you adjusting it? How would you handle it?
So I think one, you're definitely rotating the squad because you've had guys go a lot of minutes and they deserve that break. But no, I don't think you're adjusting your style. I do think you have to be adaptable in the first 10 to 15 minutes to understand what Costa Rica is going to do and what they're going to throw at us because, they are on an incredible tear, right? Like from Nations League in June to November, I think they won a grand total of one match. And now they've won 13 of 15 in a row, and they still could win 9 points this window and not make, the World Cup directly. So I don't think you can take that as we're just going to sit back and let them do to us what they want to do, because that's where you're going to, in my opinion, invite them to feel more confident, feel more in control of the match. They're playing at home. They know the advantage they have over us in San Jose. I would rather us go out there and just try to approach it like we did the Panama match, where we know you're going to have to try to attack us. So let's try to make those battles about individual battles where we have better players across the field. And hopefully those individual battles turn into good transition moments. Because if we get a goal in the first half, I'm going to just look, I'm not personally booking a ticket to Qatar, but in theory, the book a ticket to Qatar. So yeah, I think, Jared, it's not you don't change your approach, but you definitely are quick to adapt when you see how Costa Rica comes at you. But I would still rest some guys. I mean, I would sit Pulisic, at least to start. Yep. Maybe you start Christian Roldan as a thank you for being here.
Did that hurt you to say?
There was a minute yesterday where I was thinking when El Salvador and Costa Rica were tied. I was like, you know what? What if we start Christian Roldan and he has a Graham Zusi moment where a goal late knocks Costa Rica out and puts Panama in? That's not going to happen now. But yeah, it would be a nice thank you to Christian Roldan for. I mean, he's been here every window. He hasn't played a whole lot.
Group is important. It's important to recognize that because we don't see everything, but when they get together, when they train, obviously Roldan is a guy that is respected in the group. So yeah, giving him an opportunity in this, absolutely, that'd be a good move.
And maybe he doesn't start, but it's like, hey, we'll put you on in the 60th minute when we take off De La Torre or Busio. One of those where it's like you can get a good run in a World Cup qualifier because you deserve it. But I just, there's enough depth on this roster to not lose 5-0, to not lose 6-0.
Yeah. I think with the way this plays out, I mean, Costa Rica's got to be somewhat realistic about it. I think they come out an absolute house of fire to start the game. And if they get goals in the first 15, 10, maybe 20, I don't know how far they take it. They're going to go everything 100 miles an hour to start. And you're going to get to a point where if it's scoreless or if you've hit them on the counter, they're going to back off because they're not going to want to have people get to where they miss the playoff. They know that they are all but in the playoff. Now the Mexico game is going to be going on at the same time. That's the one that's more realistic for them to catch. But if you get to minute 30, Mexico's up 1-0, it's scoreless in San Jose, I can see Costa Rica then dropping off, and I can see the U.S. just knocking the ball around. They're gonna have to absorb some pressure very early, but just play your game. Do what you did in Mexico. You'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And honestly, you kind of did that with Panama in the first, 10, 20 minutes because you knew they were going to have to – Panama was the team that really needed a win last night.
Yep, they had
to. And Costa Rica, obviously, really needs a win and needs to win big. So, yeah, I think that there are multiple approaches. But like I said, being adaptable in the game will be a key. And that's something that I will say Berhalter has struggled with at times. Granted, he got it right last night. So hopefully that can continue in San Jose.
Yeah, John, before you jump in, Kevin asks if we see George Bello. I do think one other factor. Well, I'll tell you the why not. And I think this is something that Greg will have to manage a little bit is the club relationships because this is a Wednesday game. guys going back to their clubs on the weekend, I mean, you're going to have to play somebody, but you're also going to be cognizant of, all right, is this guy like Bello, is he going to start for Bielefeld? Probably not. So he's probably a really good player to play in this game on Wednesday. Other guys who are going to be vital for their club, and look, I mean, if you're Gonzalo Pineda, you might be calling Greg Berhalter and saying, hey, look, I need Miles Robinson on Saturday in DC. I really need him. Can you do without him? You're going to have some lobbying going on in that side of things with this lineup, I believe.
That's a valid. I mean, I'm trying to think of our center backs who would replace him. I mean, Eric Palmer Brown's playing a lot for Troy.
Aaron it's going to be hard to make that happen. But yeah, I think you're going to have some situations where maybe he's going to have to think really big picture and rotate because of that to a degree. We'll see. It's a lot to juggle.
No, and Bart, what I was going to get into next was Berhalter doing this and not having all of that first choice firepower. Say that 10 times fast on a Monday morning. I mean, you're having to do it, and you're having to navigate not having McKinney, not having Dest, all of this stuff that you're having to navigate that I think adds to giving Greg Berhalter a lot of credit in navigating all of these pitfalls to get the U.S. national team to this point. And I think secondarily, it also points to the depth of the squad that you have accessible to you for international play. That that this isn't the U.S. team that has created a lot of agita in years past when it comes to development and depth and everything. You've got a lot of firepower here when everyone is healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to say that, I think Greg Berhalter got it completely wrong by leaving Brooks Lennon in Atlanta, but, that's just my personal opinion.
But the thing is, you're not in the minority there, I wouldn't think.
Well, I'm joking, but it's one of those of like, why not? He could have been a guy that, because Shaq Moore is going to have to play again unless, Yedlin will be back, but I'm sure Shaq Moore will be on the bench. Who knows what Cannon's status is, and I'm with you. It's just one of those where we have tons of depth, but the squad is a little shorter than normal based on people who weren't able to play, got injuries before the camp. Now COVID with one of the players, hopefully no more. But I mean, that shouldn't be that big of an issue, to be quite honest.
And then looking at, okay. Oh God, I'm opening. Let's open the can all the way. Striker position, because my God, what are you doing? Are you running Jesus Ferrer out there again? You playing the hot hand? Are you giving guys opportunities? I mean, in this game, are you giving Jordan P. Falk a chance to rebuild some confidence? How would you address this next one with the striker position that seems to just basically be a really chaotic game of musical chairs?
I'm definitely on play the hot hand. I feel like right now Greg Berhalter has to treat it like a goaltender in a Stanley Cup playoffs where, if a guy's not doing it, then you got to put him out and put the guy in who's playing well. Speaking as a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, I've seen that plenty of times in Stanley Cup playoffs.
Marc-Andre Fleury discussion.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Sorry, Marc-Andre. I love him for the record. I thought he was still
Las
great.
Vegas Knights,
but
the chat.
But I would also run out Ferreira because I think that he will help counterbalance what I think will be a very aggressive Costa Rica team. And I think that will include a high back line. And if I'm trying to think of someone who can most likely catch Costa Rica on the break, it's got to be Jesus Ferreira. But I also think that PFOC or Pepe might be useful for the just lump it up there and hope they win a header, although neither of them did that particularly well against Mexico. But I think Ferreira's played really well, and I know that Ferreira is like the style of striker that Berhalter wants to play with his system, right? This is where the Berhalter criticism of like his ideal and the reality don't always mesh. But right now they're kind of coming together,
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't hate Ferreira running out there again because I do think that he offers a great counter to what Costa Rica would do. And I don't think that Pepe or PFOC would fit the way we would have to play. Because I think I'm not saying we're going to go long necessarily, to bring up the verticality word again. But I do think it's very realistic that Costa Rica is going to try to push high.
Yeah.
And so Ferreira could get in behind. Or if they're trying to play from the back, because obviously they're trying to keep possession, Ferreira was very effective in the press last night. So that's another positive he brings.
Yeah, I do hope that at some point the description of Jesus Ferreira as a false nine stops.
It's not a false nine.
He's not. He's a nine.
It's a striker that has no problem passing the ball.
Yeah, he's a nine. He plays where the nine plays. The whole idea of false nine is somebody not being in the positions that a nine normally is in. It's not about somebody who's different than a big, strong number nine. Yeah. It's just stop.
Don't let facts get in the way of the narrative, Jason.
Come on.
And
I think Jesus Ferreira is a really good fit for what Greg wants to do. And if he can continue to play in the way that he is, he could be that guy at the end of the year. He absolutely could.
I think he's also, to be quite honest, personally thinking, I know he got the big contract at Dallas, but that sets a market value for the guy if he wants to go to Europe. And I'm not trying to put him in Europe, but like, he has qualities that you see in Portuguese league, in the Dutch league, and the Belgian league that teams could use.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, 100%. And it goes back to the whole idea is like, you can't call an MLS guy. Yeah, you can. You can. You call the best guys. And your best center back duo consistently in a lot of games, it's not just one game. It's been Zimmerman and Robinson. Walker Zimmerman's maybe been the guy to improve their standing more than anybody in this run.
I mean, listen. Okay, so two things on that. One, Miles and Walker together have conceded a 1 goal together.
Yeah.
Because last night the goal was conceded after Miles had been taken off for Aaron Long.
Yeah.
2, so Aaron Long had been for a very long time the captain of the squad, right? Of under Berhalter. He was usually good. So last night, Pulisic was subbed off. He gave the armband to Tyler Adams. But in that same window, Adams was subbed off. So he looked around, gave the captain's armband to Walker Zimmerman. And it was really kind of cool because I was, really close to that and saw it. And he kind of looked around and Walker kind of looked at Aaron Long and was like, oh, well, I'm putting it on. So I think he has kind of those, like, it's not dad vibes, but it's older brother vibes where, like, he's cool and he's fun to look up to, but he'll also, it seems like he has no problem telling guys when they're being a little stupid.
Yeah.
And I think from not even his play, I think he just really is a guy that the rest of the team respects.
Yep. 100%.
And good for him.
Exactly. And
good for Brookwood High School.
A guy, 100%. Good for GSA, a player that was developed here in Atlanta. You talked to Nuno Patera about Walker. He's going to give you so many amazing stories about who Walker is as a person, his leadership. A player who has had a really good run in Major League Soccer and a player who could play in Europe if the right opportunity came. Just because he's not doesn't mean that he can't be that figure for the U.S. men's national team. Last one for you, Bart. So this game on Wednesday, it's a little weird because of the situation. You're in, but you're not in, but you're in, but you're not in. You can't lose by 6. It's all kinds of weird things. You got the whole Mexico thing to watch as well. I mean, is there anything you're specifically looking for out of Wednesday?
Yeah, don't fricking lose by 6 goals.
I mean, that's about it, right?
That's really all I care about, No, I do think that I want to see who Greg starts, because not that I think that means anything, but I do think that it will be, I'm looking at a guy like Eric Palmer-Brown, who I think will get a lot of minutes in this game because you've had Walker and Miles go a lot of minutes this window. He did get a run out in Mexico City. So like he or a George Bello or possibly a Busio starts. These are opportunities for guys to show Berhalter that against a team that is literally going to try to scrap, claw, fight, whatever, their way into a World Cup, that they can handle it, because that's what you're going to need when you get to the World Cup against, whatever teams that we're facing, who this is the biggest moment in their lives. So I am looking at who are those non-regular guys who play, how do they perform, with the understanding that, like, we're just trying to not lose by 6.
Eric Palmer-Brown is a big one. I think Gianluca Busio could be an important one as well, to see him in this environment.
Yes.
Because he's somebody I think who can give you something a little different in that midfield if you need it. So I'd like to see him in a pressure-packed situation in that U.S. shirt. And those are two good shouts. Those are two that I'm good with seeing. And I am good with seeing like a Roldan and a Long, who have been part of the process, had the injury, was out for a long time. Give them some minutes.
Aaron Long wasn't great last night. I'm just going to say this right now.
I know. He's not. I know. But
also, that foul was not a foul.
Yeah, there's that. And Anibal Godoy should have got a yellow for the attempted choke slam on Walker Zimmerman. I was shocked he didn't.
Yep.
Nashville violence, craziness. I would be very fine if you see Roldan, if you see Long, if you see some of those guys, the kind of the veterans who've been around for a minute, if they're on the field at the end. If they're on the field when it's a final and when it's clinched, I'm good with that moment. They deserve it.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, I said Roldan specifically would be nice to give him the, hey, thanks for being a part of this. I don't know if Roldan makes a World Cup roster because there's a lot of talent that can pass him.
Yeah, I'm
not trying to knock Roldan. It's just
no, 100%.
There's a lot more talent that we haven't even seen in qualifying that could emerge over the summer, but. He has been a mainstay of this qualification process. And again, a lot of guys have been dropped and Roldan hasn't, despite not playing a whole lot. So he's clearly doing something right. Aaron Long would be probably another one that we're going to see because he would have been a very important part of the cycle had he not had the Achilles injury. I don't think we'll see Johnson or Horvath, but I could see possibly that happening. That's something I thought about of, again, give Sean Johnson the start because, hey, thanks, bud, for being here the whole time.
Well, and also the concern that we saw in the first half with Stefan going down with the injury, I think, to the knee left leg. So you might want to be on the careful side there for Manchester City's sake and for Stefan's sake.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned about the feelings of Manchester City. I'll be quite honest, John. I'm an Arsenal supporter. I haven't concerned myself with the feelings of Manchester
here we go
City
with the pettiness again from Bart.
Hey, Bart's keeping an eye on fourth with everybody surrounding him.
Right.
You're going to get fourth.
Is there a Tottenham player that can somehow have to play 90 minutes in San Jose? Because that would be great for us right now.
Arsenal's got fourth. You got nothing to worry about, man.
I hope so.
Well, thank you for taking the time out to chat with us from wherever your location is. Not the Villages.
Not the Villages. North of the Villages. We had to drive past the Villages, and it was fun. Listen, I will again say it. Orlando City Stadium is a great place to watch a soccer game. I felt the energy from the crowd the whole night. I was surprised it wasn't a sellout. U.S. Soccer announced 22,000. The stadium holds 25. That shocked me a little bit.
I thought U.S. Soccer announced at some point that it was a
Soccer,
sellout.
I think said it was, but when we got into the stadium, they said the attendance was 22,000. Now, that may have been tickets scanned at that point. So maybe it was a sellout, but the actual attendance was lower than that. But I don't know. I when I was watching the highlights back, it sounded as loud as it sounded when we were there. So shout out to, Exploria Stadium for being a great venue for U.S. Soccer.
Yeah, great stuff. Bart, thanks. And I know you got some content coming for people later down the road as well.
Yep. I'll be home and then hopefully get a podcast out Thursday or Friday to look back at this window after we hopefully have qualified. I'm still not ready to say it, but it's there.
That's fine.
Run the ball in from the one. That's
right. Yeah. We're not. Someone pick up a block like Devontae Freeman did it. That's all we need right now, right?
You don't need a Malcolm Butler moment.
Yeah, I don't think Lucy's going to pull the football. I think we're okay. So take care of it on Wednesday. Bart, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you both. Have a great one.
Be good.
You too. All right, John, tell us about our good friends Eliminize.
Can certainly do that. QR code over my left shoulder. For those of you watching on Twitch, for odor-free, clean, fresh air, there's one place you need to go. It's Eliminize service, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue. And we like green approaches these days, different than our favorite masking agents, because all those masking agents do, cover up the odor. They don't attack the problem like Febreze does, all the way down to the molecule with a proven scientific formula. Pricing easy one of two ways, either by cubic feet or parts per million, to make it a price that is affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any kind of questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website, Eliminize.com, but do us a favor here at SDH. Go /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are talking to them from on the World Wide Web. So ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
I guess the music did not like what you were saying or something, and it just died.
I was wondering about that. I didn't know
no
if
idea.
I had offended the music with
You
my
must have.
read.
You must have. It's okay. I'm sure it will bounce back. Okay, lots of different things to get into today, in addition to what the U.S. men's national team did last night. Atlanta United 2, good performance from them against Charleston, continually putting on the pressure to where Charleston decided that the best way to deal with it was to foul at every opportunity. 16 first half fouls, which is a borderline obscene number. 2 of them went to Matthew Sheldon, and those resulted in yellow cards that resulted in him being sent off before the end of the first half. That completely changed the game. Atlanta was growing into it. The Twos were really growing into it as the first half went on. They were completely overwhelmed at the beginning. Add Charleston to the list of Red Bull, Philadelphia pressing teams that are in no way interested in having possession, playing 100 miles an hour. That is what Connor Casey is going to do with this team. They're going to get better at it. They were really good at it in portions of this match before the red card. The red card changed everything. But even late in the first half, you could see that energy level was dropping, and the Twos were growing in confidence and playing through it. I thought Jonathan Fischall was amazing. Love to see playmakers, kids with creativity, get those opportunities. Jack Collison's talked about it with Fischall. I know he really enjoyed his appearances last year. He signed to a pro deal now, and he wanted to bring him along in the right way. He's not a big guy. Physicality of games can be an issue for him. I thought he did a pretty good job defensively last night, and he was amazing in what he does best, on the ball, making things happen. He's just got that it factor about him. David Mejia has that it factor about him. He didn't get the chances created last night, but he worked his tail off, and that's what he's added to his game. And Jackson Conway, who got beat up in the first half. I mean, was just getting consistently whacked from behind. Sometimes it was getting called. A few times it wasn't. You had a situation where a veteran in Kilwine is trying to provoke a reaction out of him on a throw-in with kind of grabbing him and slinging him down and kind of pushing him down at the end of it, trying to create drama. Jackson didn't fall for it. Jackson shoved him off of him, which is fine. That's all he can do. And then he went out and scored 3 goals. That's how you deal with it. Jackson needed a game like that. It was a good performance all the way around. Look, the red card helps you, but you put them under the pressure to make them commit the fouls that lead to the cards that then get the red card. It's not like somebody just lost his head and punched somebody in the face. You forced Charleston into those situations. Good on the Twos, good on a young team for doing that. Great to see Darwin Mateus get a goal at the end as well. I thought Noah Cobb, brave in the way he played, dealing with that pressure, passing out of the back. Yes, he made some mistakes. He will. He's 16, but he rebounded well. He recovered well from mistakes that he made. And Noah Cobb's starting to show a lot of personality on the field. I really, really like what I'm seeing from him. Every game, it feels like he matures 2 or 3 years. It's a lot of fun. Go back and at least skim through that game if you get a chance. Watch some of the work that you saw from Fischall, from Mejia. Centeno came on late, had some good moments. I thought Robbie Mertz was brilliant. Robbie Mertz was the one who really drove the team forward as the day went on. Really good to see. Good performances all around. Good win. Building a little bit of momentum before they go on the road next weekend. Other results, MLS, you saw Charlotte win their second in a row. We'll get into their situation in just a second with the national team. But on the field, Karol Swiderski was outstanding. Got a couple of goals. Great free kick. Charlotte was the better team against Cincinnati by a pretty good margin. They looked good. They're growing. as we expected with Miguel Angel Ramirez. They've stayed healthy so far, which is helping them. They got a win here against the Cincinnati team that maybe was a little overinflated in some ways. I thought Cincinnati didn't really bring a lot in this one. I was disappointed with their performance. But things are starting to click for Charlotte, and that's because they have a top manager in Miguel Angel Ramirez. Can everybody stay healthy the whole season? Probably not. Can they continue to add to the depth? Yeah, I would hope so. They're going to get their winger from Poland in here soon. Now, they were involved in a situation that has been blown into a million different things. I know, social media, it's crazy, right? These things never happen. Karol Swiderski was removed from Charlotte's last game, hamstring injury. There was a letter sent to the Polish national team. I don't know if it went to the press officer, went to the comms person, went to the ops person. I don't know. That's been posted, and it was saying that the return to play for Swiderski was expected to be 1 to 2 weeks. Well, it was 1 week. He returned to play. He didn't train last week with the team. I do know that from multiple reports in Charlotte. He played in the game. He played well. Poland still could have called him in. We've seen this happen. We've talked about this over the years. The national team could have called Swiderski in and said, we want our doctors to take a look at him. It's 1 to 2 weeks. Our games are in that window. If he can play, we want our doctor to make that determination. We want him to come. And Charlotte would have had to let him go. Okay. They didn't. Now, you had as the press officer for the Polish national team told the Charlotte Observer, I want to make sure I quote him correctly. Yesterday, when we saw Swiderski was in the starting 11 of Charlotte FC, a real ish storm on Polish Twitter had started. Okay. Journalists and fans started to attack us, and he's saying the national team, saying that we made a big mistake not to call up Swiderski, that he's perfectly fit and can play. Now we have problems with strikers, and Swiderski is not with us. They could have called him up. And the press officer says this about it. We knew that Karol Swiderski was injured and that his break could last from a week to 2 weeks. We stayed in touch with Swiderski. Ultimately, it was decided by the coach and by Swiderski that he'd stay in the U.S. They could have called him in. They didn't. I don't think Charlotte lied about anything in their letter. I think that's being way overplayed. He could have been called in. They opted not to because it was risky. Okay. He played. It happens. It happens. I'm a little surprised that Poland, with a knockout World Cup qualifier tomorrow, didn't risk bringing him in. I'm 100% surprised they didn't say, okay, well, we want to take a look at this. We want to see. But they didn't. So, I mean, Charlotte didn't do anything wrong. I think people were trying to take shots at Charlotte, and Charlotte didn't do anything wrong in this case. They didn't lie. They didn't say, oh, he's out for 3 weeks and then he plays. They said 1 to 2 weeks. It was a week. He played. What else can you do? I think they were upfront about it. And it sounds like, according to the press officer for the Polish national team, everybody was in conversation. They all made the decision, player, coaching staff, everybody involved, that he would stay in the U.S. And he played. And then the ish storm on Polish Twitter started. Again, shocking ish storms on Twitter. It's crazy. I've never heard of these things. Other things on the board. Johnny Russell got his first goal of the year. Sporting Kansas City got a win over Real Salt Lake. Portland and Orlando, maybe a little bit of an ish storm in that one. That was kind of chaotic at the end. 1-1 draw. Junior Urso gave Orlando the lead. Portland had a red card. They get a penalty in the 80th. Christian Paredes equalizes, finishes 1-1.
Yeah, it was a silly second yellow from Van Rankin that created the man advantage for Orlando. But as we see sometimes, when you're down to 10, it kind of frees you up a little bit. And that's what it seemed to do for Portland when it came to attacking Orlando in that final 15 minutes or so. And they get the penalty and put it in, and it was a 1-1 draw. And the game after the second yellow to Van Rankin in that final 15 that included the penalty and the equalizer really got chippy between those two. And a lot of cards were given out for both Portland and Orlando, as there were a lot of folks going nose to nose in that final 15 minutes. Very, very chippy, but it ends up with a shared result.
I'm going to get caught up on a few things on the Twitch pitch. Burn, going back to the twos game. There's a play where somebody hit a long switch towards Vishal, 30 to 40 yards, and he trapped it dead with one touch. I've never seen anybody on the twos with that kind of a touch. Burn, you got to give David Mejia some credit. And I know you had a couple of things there that I will talk about here in a second. That game doesn't turn to 11v10 if David Mejia doesn't take a long switch out of the air with the outside of his right foot on the run and force Sheldon into a reckless challenge. Brilliant first touch from David Mejia. Absolutely brilliant. You got a lot of technical guys in this team, but we know that. We know that with Atlanta United. That's who they look for in the academy. That's who they look for to play for the twos. That's who they look for in the first team. They want soccer players. They want guys who are technical. They want guys who can dribble. They want guys who can play. They're not looking for purely athletes. They're looking for soccer players. So Vishal, I don't care about his size. Can he play? Yep. Can he make things happen? Yep. Good. He's going to play. And I was so happy to see him in the starting lineup. Byrne talks about Mejia, says he's inaccurate with his passing. He needs to improve that. He's a kid. I think at times when we have these conversations, yes, I agree. He can't be wasteful in the final third. He really hasn't been that wasteful in the final third when you look at the season as a whole. He hasn't had a great start. I think what it is about Mejia this season is he has worked hard. He's played pretty well. He has no product to show for it. But he played every minute up until he was subbed out in this one. That's also a big change for him. He's been a guy who's played some here, some there, come off the bench. He's now having to play 90-minute performances. That's a change. Got to give these guys time. We cannot nitpick on kids. We can talk big picture on kids. Like Vishal, yeah, I worry about his size a little bit at the next level. Mejia, yeah, I want him to be consistent at the next level. Cobb, I want him to eliminate some of the mistakes at the next level. We can talk very big picture on these guys, but we can't nitpick on game, this, did this here, because they're kids and their performances are going to be up and down. It's the nature of it. It's the nature of it at any level. And I feel like at times, because we have so much we can cover with these guys, we maybe try a little too hard into it. It's all about the long term. It's all about, like, how did the first month go for Mejia, for Vishal, for Cobb? How did the first 2 months go? Now, it's not game to game because they're going to have those ups and downs. I like what you have so far. Doesn't mean all these guys come good either. And that's the other thing that I think in this conversation about academy, about developing talent, it has to be understood more. There is no perfect blueprint for developing a player to be a top-level professional. If there was, somebody would have replicated it by now across the board. There isn't. There's background, there's culture, there's family, there's access, there's, experiences, there's getting noticed in the first place, there's being in the right places at the right time, there's having the opportunity presented to move up a level. There's so many things that are unpredictable in a player's development. You won't see every player come good. There will be players that you will love at the U15s, the U16s. They'll emerge with the twos. They'll emerge with the first team. And they won't quite make it. Doesn't mean they can't make a living at the game. It just means they might not make a living here. It means they might not make a living at the top level. That's okay. I want them all to make it, but 11 guys start and you have a game day roster of 20 and you have a roster of 30. If every player makes it, you're going to run out of room pretty fast, and it's not a failure if they don't make it here either. It's not a failure on the club. It's not always a failure on the player. It might not be the right fit. It might not be the right time, and that's okay. But these kids breaking through, what Atlanta's done with having 18 academy products sign professional contracts so far in 6 years. That's borderline incredible. Again, they're not all going to make it. All those 18, no, they're not going to all make it for the first team. They're not going to be stars for the first team. Some of them are already gone. Okay, that happens. You learn. You see, did we not give this person a good enough opportunity? Did we not evaluate their talent properly. Like you're always looking to learn and get better. But 18 already, that's substantial. That's impressive. And it's only going to continue to grow as I think they get better at what they do. I mentioned it on the broadcast last night. I retweeted it over the weekend. I think I'm actually going to retweet it again. Will Bates, who's one of the Atlanta United Academy coaches, shared a highlight from one of the Academy age groups. I can't remember which one it was. Showed a video, and it's a kid, just amazing individual talent, amazing individual ability to create a goal. And he talked about how you have to be willing to give kids those opportunities. You have to be willing to give those individual chance creators the opportunities at times to fail. It's going to happen. They're not always going to make everything come off. And that's completely okay. If you don't give them the opportunity, you don't know what special talent you might have, and they don't get to grow and develop. You have to commit to it. And I think Vishal is one of those kinds of kids. I think Mejia is one of those kinds of kids. I think Ezequiel Barco is one of those kinds of players. Absolutely he is. He pulls off things that just you can't teach. Pity Martinez is one of those kinds of players. You have to give them the opportunity. Will Bates tweeted, said, individual chance creation is difficult. Allow them to fail over and over again. That one moment of magic is worth it. It is. Now, you need more than just one moment, of course. With kids, you can give them a lot more time. Professional level, results matter. All those things are important, obviously. But you have to be willing to see what you have. You have to be willing to trust in these kids. You have to be willing to let them fail sometimes. And then you'll see. And then you still might not see enough, and they might have to go somewhere else. Because you're going to have more kids coming behind them. That's the nature of all of it. So I think it's a hard thing to do to develop talent. It is not a science. It's much more of an art form than a science. And it's never going to be a straight line all the time. You'll get those occasionally where it's a kid you see, he's like, okay, wow, he's moved up another age group. He's played for the twos. He's done well. He's moved into the first team. Boom, he's good. Everything's great. You'll see that sometimes. Not often. A lot of times you'll see somebody have to go back down a level. You'll see somebody come into the twos, have a couple of good games, have a couple of bad games, maybe go back to the academy, maybe go to the U19s and play. Hopefully they come back. Johnny Fortune's one who had to go backwards to come back. Good credit to him. Does he make the first team? I don't know. I don't know if he does or not. I'd say it's a little bit of a long shot. But has he done enough? Has he shown you enough? And have you put enough into him to where Johnny Fortune can make a living in this game, can play for his national team, and can be a great representative of what Atlanta United's academy can be? 100%. 100%. That's all you can ever ask for at this. That's all you can ever try to get to, is give these guys every opportunity to be successful.
We talking about the twos?
We are.
Yeah, good. They took out some frustration last night. They played 3 very difficult games, and they got something to go their way and proceeded to pummel Charleston into the dirt. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good. They started badly. I think Charleston's pressure was overwhelming early on, and it was a real struggle. You saw them play a little more direct early to Atlanta than I think Jack Collison was happy with. Once they conceded a goal and fell behind, which you never want to do, and once Charleston hit that lull that every big pressing team does, especially early in a season where they're not 100% fit and you have that drop off, Atlanta grew into it really well. And it wasn't just because of the red. They grew into it before that and really started to put Charleston in some bad spots, and the yellows started to pile up, and Sheldon got one. The take from Mejia on that ball Big switch. He takes it with the outside of the right foot, brings it down on the run. Just amazing. Just amazing stuff. So much of that last night. Vishal, I talked about him last year. We saw a great goal from him with the academy, kind of in the twos off season. He earns the pro deal, and he gets his first start last night. And Jarrett Vishal absolutely delivered.
So we have a pronunciation now because I wasn't really sure.
It's still evolving at times.
That's fine.
We're learning.
I want to make sure we get it right for his sake, so we're not mispronouncing his name to him.
That is the official pronunciation that I've been given. I did not know that he had Latin parentage that would lead it to be Vishal rather than Vial, but that is what I've been given, and that's what we're working with. And if that changes again, we will issue the memo.
Cool. He was problematic, which we knew he could be, and he had his moments last year where he played with the second team. He had the highlight before the season, if you've seen the clip that Atlanta United put out about a month and a half ago, where he just slaloms through the box on like four guys for whoever the hell they were playing against and puts it away. He's incredibly technical and incredibly talented, and it's not even like, I guess the things that stuck out to me, because I saw Burns' comments about it wasn't the dribbles that impressed him, it was the passing. And yeah, his field vision is very good.
Yep.
It's the touches for me, and as good as the passing was, as good as the dribbling is, it's, when he is posting up on somebody and he's receiving a pass and his first touch is so smooth and the ball is going exactly where he wants at the as heavy or as soft as he wants it to, and puts him in a position to be in an attacking mode. Mm-hmm. He's very talented at his age, and I don't want to overhype him. I don't want to set unrealistic expectations. I want him to keep growing along this path, though, because it's damn terrifying. And assuming I really enjoyed seeing him play 90 minutes, because I know Jack Collison had mentioned, they're working him towards that, because it's a matter of, you got a 16, 17-year-old kid playing against adults. Everyone develops differently, and it's tough to play 90 minutes. It's tough to play 90 minutes against grown men when you're not one. It's really exhausting to do. Any of these kids, if you've ever seen them come off the field after Tuesdays games, the teenagers, they're spent. It's hard. It's physical. It's mentally taxing. He handled it really well. And if you end up in a situation where you can get him and Dara Mateus on the field for, 60-plus minutes, that's a crippling amount of creativity just in those two. That doesn't even include guys like David Mejia, who was fantastic, or Robbie Mertz, who I thought had a wonderful game. And Robbie Mertz continues to do the thing where he just makes the players around him better.
Yep.
It's such a technical midfield, and then getting out on the wings. It's when you get these guys spread all over the field, you end up with at different times 4 different guys who can beat you on the dribble, but can beat you with their passing and their vision too. It's an incredibly technical team, and to your point, Jason, yeah, I don't want the conversation to just be, well, there was a red card, so Atlanta took over. No, they were starting. The field was tilting hard before that red card. The red card happened because Atlanta had grabbed control of it, and you play through, and you force a guy on a yellow card to have to make that tackle. Otherwise, I think it was Mejia who got fouled. Otherwise, he's in on goal by him. Yeah. He's in on goal by himself if you don't make that tackle.
Yeah, that's the whole point about the take that I keep bragging about, that I'd like to have a picture of. It's because he takes that so well out of the air to go 1v1 with Sheldon. Sheldon comes lunging in, and he's on a yellow, and he gets the second one, and could have possibly been a straight red if the ref had wanted to go down that road, because it was studs up and it was straight leg. It was a nasty challenge, because Mejia completely caught him by surprise with how well he took that out of the air. It was good stuff. Couple of other things. So, and then we've got a bunch of different questions. Emilio said, can we ask him about Vishal and his name? That's what the teams told us, and they talk to him a lot more than we do. So
next time I'm actually at a game and I get a chance to, I'll ask him.
We'll make sure that's the case. But yes, they would probably know more than we would. I don't have his number, so I can't give him a call. That'd be kind of weird anyway. That'd be kind of creepy. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy.
We just call it like 10:30. Hey.
Yeah. Hey,
pronounce your
how do you
name.
pronounce your name, buddy?
What?
I mean,
Thanks.
not our game notes from yesterday, right here, by the way.
Yes. Yes, John. Good job.
Yep.
Thanks for keeping
Kept
this.
it. Yep.
Good. Ricky, it's not about Vishal like Vishalba in terms of that's why it's pronounced that way. I don't think that's what you were saying, but just in case, because Villalbas in Mexico are Villalbas. Villalbas from the Argentina area and Uruguay, and other places too, but those are the ones that we probably know the best. They're Villalbas. But if it's a Villalba in Mexico, then it's a Villalba. I know it's confusing. That's where I was a little surprised that it was Vijal as opposed to Vial, but I don't know his whole background. So we're going to find out and we're going to learn more. Other stuff. MJ and Michael Head both asked about why MLS teams played this past weekend. The way it's always been said is that when the schedule is being created, teams have the opportunity to say, no, we do not want to play during international breaks. Most teams are taking that now. Not all of them are. I don't know if they make some teams play if it's an odd number of teams, or if they make a team who says, yeah, we'll play during the international break, not play if it's an odd number of teams. I don't know that process, but I have always heard that teams can say, no, we'll play during these. That's fine. And teams can say, no, it's an international break. We're not going to play. It's reduced greatly over the years how many teams are playing during international breaks, which is a good thing. I wish that they didn't at all, but some teams still do. Whatever, it's up to them. Teams who are going to have national team players consistently probably are going to opt not to in general, but that's where it's at. That's what we know. Good point by Burned about Vijal consistently cutting back his cross. He wasn't just looking to whip crosses in. I thought Mejia mixed up his delivery as well throughout the night. Some low, some looking for the back post, some looking for the near post. But Vijal was consistent. He was looking to make a pass. He was not just putting in a cross. He wasn't putting it into the mixer. He wasn't doing any of that nonsense.
That's a Charleston move.
It's more than just a Charleston move, Jarrett. Your beloved Scotland loves it, and England.
Oh, I know,
loves
but they were playing Charleston last night.
But Charleston wasn't just putting. No, actually, Jarrett, no, you are incorrect, because that would require Charleston to actually string passes together to get a cross off.
Well, I mean, they want to force the turnover up the field in a very.
It's just bomb it forward because the ball's got cooties, and then fight for it and win it back, and then just go as fast as you possibly can. Just go, and look, that can work. That can work. It's not the style that I love. Been very clear about that. Philadelphia's found a way to make it work really well. The Red Bulls have made it work really well over the years. It can work. That's where Charleston is now. That's not where they were. I didn't know Connor Casey was going to go down this road, but he has.
I mean, just what, under 40% possession this season so far?
Yeah, and it's not so much that, because Atlanta United 2 was under 50% possession for the first 3 games, which is kind of like, whoa. You just look at that and you don't watch the games and you're like, whoa, they've changed their style. No, it's just the way the game's played out. Where you see it is the passing number. That's where you get it. And Charleston coming into the game yesterday, passing at less than 50%, which it's 2 games. So let's slow the roll a little bit. You're probably not going to be that low in general, but are you going to be in the 60s? Yeah. And that's not going to keep you a whole lot of possession. A lot of times your possession and your passing numbers go hand in hand, but your style dictates it. And Charleston's style is going to be get it into the attacking half as fast as possible. I don't care if you connect passes. Some teams, Tata Martino was a big proponent of this, get it into the attacking half as fast as possible in passing, in possession, and get numbers into the attacking half as fast as possible. Charleston and others, nope. Bomb it forward as fast as possible. I don't care if it connects, because if it doesn't, we're going to press like maniacs. And we're going to try to turn it over, and then we're going to go to goal as fast as possible. San Jose, Jarrett, is one that will get it forward quickly, will press, but then they'll keep it, and they'll knock it around a little bit to find the right opportunity in the attacking half. They're not going to really try to build up the play. Atlanta will try to build up the play, and they did a good job of that as the game went on. When it was 11v11, of course they did a good job against 11v10 because Charleston had to drop off some. And they struggled to do that because that's not how they've trained all year.
I was about to say, defending up the field, Charleston's in a better situation. This is what they're used to, and then they had to defend. They had to get back into a corner and defend, and if they weren't perfect at it by any stretch of the imagination. So what you end up with is that game. And shout out to everyone's favorite plucky striker that everyone is desperately, understandably, expecting great things from, because look, I've been critical of the first few games for Jackson Conway this year because I thought he had opportunities in games where you're not going to get a lot of opportunities and didn't take advantage of them. Boy registered a hat trick last night and did exactly what he was supposed to do and played the short memory card correctly. So I was very happy for him and impressed that he was able to put all of what I thought personally were just not taking advantage of opportunities early in the season, and gets 3 goals for his hard work.
Yeah, he had a really good day, and it wasn't just because he got 3 goals. He had a better day than he had in the first 2 against Tampa at times, because he was defending, he was working hard, he was doing a lot of the things off the ball. He produced here. It's good. He's got to continue to do it. And is his future in Atlanta? I don't know. I don't know. I know he wants it to be, and he should. He's a hometown guy. Now, the club would like that to be the case, but he's got to show that, yeah, I'm the guy behind Joseph. Because whoever it is, they're going to be the guy behind Joseph. He can continue to score goals and continue to play well. He'll do it. I think one other thing before we get a little other news going on the twos. The result doesn't dictate anything either. And I think at times with the twos in narratives down here, that happens a lot. They've played well in losses, and they've played, honestly, not so great in some wins over the years. It's all about development. It's all about, are you playing the way that the team wants you to play? Are the individuals playing the way that they need to play at the next level? Because you could say against a pressing team, yeah, we're not going to try to build out of the back because I got a bunch of kids. They're going to make some mistakes. So we'll just bomb it forward. We'll just be vanilla and we'll just do it that way today. But that doesn't accomplish anything. You might win. You absolutely can. But does that make those players get better? Does that give them a better chance to get to the first team? Nope. And it's the difference between a professional academy and a youth club playing a big game in whatever their acronym league is. There's 50 million at this point. I can't keep up with what they are. Or trying to win a state cup or whatever. They're not trying to produce guys for their first team. They don't have a first team. They don't have a professional team. It would be a disservice to Noah Cobb to say, yeah, you're going to struggle here playing out of the back, so don't do it. No, you need to play out of the back against difficult opposition. You're going to do that at the next level because we think you can play at the next level. It's why we signed you to a future MLS homegrown contract. You got to do it.
Well, Jack Collison literally said this the other night, actually, after the Tampa game, of making the point that it does these kids no good, just to have a 16-year-old back there and to play a low block and bunker, and sure, like you'll get plenty of defending in a low block, but he was very adamant about these guys having to defend up the field, having to defend one-on-ones, having to play with the ball, and having to grow. He was very adamant about that.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe people don't listen. Like, so I'll amplify it for Jack and for Carlos and for everybody at the club who is in that situation of developing talent. You've got to develop talent the right way. It doesn't always result in wins for your teams below your first team, because ultimately the wins there don't matter in certain situations. Sure, they can. You get to a playoff situation, you learn how to win a playoff game. Yeah, different conversation. Twos haven't been there yet. Academies in a tournament situation, you take a team into a playoff like the U19s with UPSL Georgia. Yeah, you need to learn how to win that game. You might have to do some things different to win a knockout game. Okay. That's a whole nother conversation, because you do want to create that culture of winning. But the most important thing is the individual development and getting these guys ready to deal with things at the next level. So if that results in some losses and mistakes at your lower tiers, you take that. And it doesn't define your success. 18 professional players signing out of the Atlanta United Academy is what defines your success. and there's plenty more coming. Other stuff on the news board today. We mentioned MLS. We've mentioned the U.S. men's national team. Out of Argentina, they defeated Venezuela at La Bombonera on Friday night. Joseph Martinez nearly had a goal that would have leveled it. Lionel Messi was very happy and singing and chanting with the fans. It was a celebration afterwards. Lionel Scaloni, the manager of Argentina, said it's not the right time to think about Argentina's future without Lionel Messi, but instead to enjoy him while they have him. He has said after the end of the World Cup, he, quote, does not know, unquote, what the future holds in terms of his international career. Scaloni said after playing in a World Cup, everyone has to make an assessment. I'm not in the heads of my players to know what they're thinking. In any case, you have to enjoy it. You don't have to think about the future. Enjoy their spectacular present. Yeah, that was more than likely Messi's last competitive game with the national team in Argentina. Okay, great he got the send-off. Great that he got the support that he didn't always get in his national team career. Winning the Copa America changed everything about that feeling with him and his country and national team fans. I mean, for the longest time, it was Barcelona was his refuge from being yelled at by Argentina fans because he wasn't Diego Maradona. Now it's almost reversed. Now being with Argentina is his refuge from being away from Paris, where they boo him because he's not whatever they want him to be. And he's not being used in the most effective way at times. And that team just doesn't fit together. But that's all Messi's fault. So boo him. No, now he enjoys playing with the national team more. So it's funny how things change sometimes. But yeah, I think that was probably his last competitive game. They'll have a send-off for him at some point. They'll probably have send-off games before the World Cup, obviously, in Argentina. But they'll have a send-off at some point after the World Cup for him in Argentina. Hopefully in Rosario. Hopefully at Newell's. And that'd be amazing. And I hope he gets that when the time is right. But yeah, enjoy it while you got it. You never know. You never know. I mean, you're probably going to see a number of Italian players retire from the national team. Lorenzo Insigne is one who that's been talked about with him. Plenty of others. You never know. You don't want it to be in that situation like they had. Enjoy it while you got it. In Africa, we had the first legs of games on Friday. Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia all took a good step forward. Senegal have to come from behind in theirs. They lost to Egypt. So you had the North African countries really start to come through in this, which hasn't always been the case. You've got the second legs. Nothing's really clear yet, I don't think, in these. They're all pretty tight. Egypt won by a single goal, for example. You got the Mo Salah, Sadio Mane battle. Last time it was Mane at the AFCON tournament. Now it's Salah right now. Egypt's got a lot of defensive work to do there. Ghana and Nigeria, scoreless draw, second leg, all to play for. I think in all these, John, it's all to play for in the second legs. They're all going to be very compelling tomorrow.
Yeah, and just make sure that you have your path clear so you can watch these. But I mean, just hey, it's going to be must see because when you're trying to juggle 5 matches all at once, I know it can, or just because it was 1, 2, and 2. But when you're trying to
1 and 3:30, you got 2 games at 1, and then 3 games at 3:30 tomorrow on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and so last time out in the first legs, it was 1 match, and then you had 2 matches, and then you had 2, so you had to have a multiple screen experience. But when you have 1, 2, 3 that are separated by 1 goal going in, I mean Cameroon, I know that a lot of folks were looking at Cameroon as one of their favorites of advancing, and they're having to fight back from a goal down. Ghana, Nigeria, Congo, Morocco, those are right now even going into the second leg. I think it's for the neutral observer to see the passion that's going to be engaged if you miss the first legs, to see the second legs and see what it means for all of these nations to be going after it in multiple either matches that are even or 1-goal matches. It's going to be fun to watch tomorrow for the neutral observer. I'm looking forward to it.
You're going to be very busy tomorrow. 1 o'clock, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Egypt. 3:30, Algeria, Cameroon, Morocco, DR Congo, Tunisia, Mali. Then at 7:30, you have the 5 games going on in South America to watch, and 3 of them are going to be very important to decide who goes to the playoff. And then before all of that, you're going to start your day. They don't happen at this. No, they do happen at the same time. Good. They put these 2 at the same time. Asia, 9:45. So while we are on, Syria and Iraq is 1 game. UAE and South Korea is the other. If UAE wins, they will go into the playoff with Australia in Asian qualifying. If they don't win and Iraq wins, then it will be Iraq who has come out of nowhere to get to that game against Australia. Everything else is decided in Asia. Australia is locked into the playoff spot. Japan and Saudi Arabia are through. Iran and South Korea are through. It is down to the last playoff spot in Asia. That's 9:45 with 2 games at once. So 9:45, take you till 11:45 and some change. Then you get an hour break. 1 o'clock, then 3:30. That'll take you to about 5:30. It could take you further if you've got extra time because those are second legs. Extra time and penalties. Maybe it takes you to 6:15, whatever. Then 7:30, you got the South American games. So as John says, make sure your path is clear.
Path is clear. Everything, all of the errands have been run. No one can disturb you in your multi-screen experience. Make sure that everything is there for you so you can sit there and have your head on the proverbial swivel. Because right now, I can turn to my left and that's my 3rd screen. I've got 3 screens accessible. I could have 3 matches going at once if I want to, but no, tomorrow. And really, if you want to get up super early and just get prepared,
no, you don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
Japan and Vietnam to get.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
But for those who get up early, have it on in the room, have your breakfast.
John, you've got games from 9:45 until 9:45 at night. You don't need another one. You don't need to add 2 more hours to your day. Sleep. Get up at 9, listen to us, then watch all your games.
Iraq is currently a plus 112 favorite, and UAE is just south of plus 300 as an underdog.
That's exactly where that should be. Iraq should be looking at it as a win, puts them into the playoffs.
Justin Miram, World Cup, here we come.
Yeah, well, they've made a coaching change, and he's back into the national team after retiring earlier because he was getting called in, wasn't playing. They made a change. The change is working. So, yeah, he could be in that World Cup. Rumors and innuendo, Rafinha reportedly has agreed to move to Barcelona in the summer from Leeds. He has reportedly reached an agreement with Barcelona on a new deal. He'd be available on a free. Real Madrid reportedly preparing a £50 million bid for Kieran Tierney, Jared.
Okay.
I mean, they are. That's what's being reported.
Okay. Well, can you keep him healthy?
Have they kept Gareth Bale healthy? Kind of.
I don't know how Kieran Tierney feels about playing 18 after practice. So it might work.
I think it might work. Napoli have set a price tag of £83 million for Victor Osimhen. What's that, about €100 million, roughly?
Yeah, roughly.
It's about where I thought it would be. It's a little high, but yeah, he's right in that next tier. That could be a good purchase. PSG reportedly monitoring Roberto Mancini's situation, although Roberto Mancini today said that he's going to stay on, and the Italian Federation is going to keep him on. That can always change when that gigantic briefcase of cash shows up, as it can from Paris. But PSG reportedly monitoring Roberto Mancini's situation. You have folks in England saying that that's who Manchester United should look at, as hiring Roberto Mancini. All that's on the board. PSG still wants to get Zidane as their first choice, but I think Zidane's going to wait till after the World Cup and take the France job.
Yep. I
don't think he's going to take PSG in the summer when he can wait a few more months and probably take the France job. So who knows? We'll see. One to keep an eye on involving MLS, Agustin Almendra. You might remember his name was linked with a move to Atlanta United at one point from Boca Juniors. We talked about it about a month ago, maybe not quite that long, that he had a spectacular falling out with the leadership at Boca Juniors, coaching staff, locker room, board, everybody. And they're like, yeah, we want him out. So he was at one point linked with a loan move to Santos. That has fallen through as they've gone in a different direction. The Brazilian window is still open for another week or so. He's been linked with a move to FC Cincinnati. And I'm intrigued, but they should also know that they're getting a interesting character. If you remember when we talked about Almendra when he was linked with Atlanta United, he had not come back to the team after the initial shutdown due to COVID. There was a lot of back and forth. He had a huge falling out with that coach at that time, and Boca's on a different coach, and he's had another falling out. Cincinnati might want to know what they're getting themselves into if they're going to go down this road. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if
I'm sure Oscar Romero is available, as is his brother.
I think
double it
his
up.
brother is Oscar is with Boca Juniors actually. I believe brother Romero is available if Cincinnati wants to go in that direction to have fun. Good on him. Good luck. England, Mark Kleinman of Sky is reporting that the 4 remaining bidders for Chelsea FC have been told by the Rain Group, which is the bank handling the sale, that they plan to present a preferred bid to the government during the week of April 18th. So you got about 3 weeks to get everything in order to be that preferred bid. One of the 4 left. That is where things stand there. I'm sure we'll have updates on all of that tonight on Soccer Over There. Questions to finish us up this morning. Bart wanted to know if we discussed Messi scouting Caleb Wiley. Lionel Messi, after the game on Friday, the U.S. U20s and Argentina's U20s played in a friendly at the Argentine training complex owned by the Federation. Messi and crew came to watch and hang out. Yes, he was scouting Caleb Wiley to bring him to Barcelona when he goes back to Barcelona, when he walks out of Paris this summer. And then Messi will be a sporting director at Barcelona for the rest of his life and recruit players like Caleb Wiley. That is what's going to happen. Heard it here first.
Wiley to Barca confirm.
Yeah, you can add that to the list of things we'll get wrong.
I know we're being silly, but I would be very tickled to see the conversations of international players when, let's say, you're a young international and you're getting linked to Barcelona, and Lionel Messi shows up and says, "Hey, you want to come play for me?"
Oh yeah, no, you're gone.
It's a hell of a recruiting tool.
You are.
Nick Saban would never.
No.
Nick Saban could never.
No, it's nowhere near the same level. No, not at all. Jason Nix, first MLS Next Pro match in St. Louis on Friday, had a sellout from interviews with execs. Heard that their goal in St. Louis is for, in MLS Next Pro is for 30 MLS-owned teams, which would be all of them, and 10 to 20 independent teams eventually. Interesting to hear. USL League One as a Division III pro league is kind of heading in that kind of a number as well, not with USL owned teams, but with 50 or so, because they want to be regional. There's no point in third division teams traveling cross country. It's just not the country this size. And I don't care what England does. It has nothing to do with it. Keep travel down, train, play games, get to test out that training, get to test out what you're working on. But I don't need, in any league, I don't need Rochester going to play San Diego. I have no need for that game. Rochester can play another game against Syracuse, and I'm happy. Play games closer by. So you need more teams to do that, obviously, because you need to fill out your regions. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. The independent teams with MLS Next Pro is kind of the interesting element of it. What does that end up looking like, and what kinds of groups are you going to work with, and what do they bring to the table? Because that's what I do, dislike that you're losing with the games we just talked about with Atlanta United 2 against the Charleston, against the Tampa Bay Rowdies, where they are playing to win that game because that is their first team and they are building their style and they have an identity. Tampa Bay definitely has an identity under Neil Collins. Charleston is building a very clear identity under Connor Casey. Second teams are building identities at a club level, but the actual team itself might not be quite as cohesive with that. That's okay. That's the process. Independent teams will have that. So what does that look like in MLS Next Pro? We just have to wait and see. We just have to see. But it was a good start to the league this weekend. You saw a couple of great goals. Great crowd in St. Louis. It's going to take some time to get where everything wants to get with that. It is brand new. Some talk about they're not going to have draws. It's really the way I wouldn't put it, GH. It's kind of hockey style, where it is 3 points for a win. It is 1 point for a draw. It is no points for a loss. You get a bonus point after a shootout in a draw. So
Scotland does this with one of their cups, by the way. It's amazing.
It's something.
It's amazing.
It's something.
Embrace it.
I embrace it in this scenario because it gives players who are on the way up an opportunity to deal with the pressure of a shootout.
Yeah,
which I'm good with, because if I'm a MLS team and I'm like, all right, now I'm in a playoff game, now I'm going to a shootout. I've got 3 guys good, no problem. Man, I got a couple kids in my lineup because of injury, because they've earned their way in, whatever. Have they ever been in a shootout? Oh, yes, I actually have a record, and they've done really well in the shootout. Cool. Yes, you good. Go 17-year-old. You're good. That's a good thing, and that's fine. In a developmental league, in a you don't want to call it a reserve league because it's more than that. It is more focused on development than just reserves playing. I'm good with it because it aids the development. It's fine. I've said, GH, many, many times that in any shootout situation, I would rather see the 35-yard shootout than penalties. I've been clear about that, and you can add that to the list of things that I get wrong all the time, and I know people do. I don't care. I would rather see that in a shootout. I wouldn't see that replace penalties in the run of play, like has been proposed by some or talked about by some. In a shootout situation to decide a game, I would have that. I don't want MLS to have shootouts after draws. Don't misunderstand me. In MLS Next Pro, which is about development, yes, I am good with whatever form of a shootout they want to do to add an extra bonus point to the standings for that experience for the players. And if I get to choose, I'm picking a 35-yard shootout. 100%. Because I love them. And I think they're better. They're more 50-50.
They're glorious.
Than a penalty shootout. Yes, they are absolutely glorious.
You get the chance to show off more imagination. For me, I like the variety of it instead of just having stationary act and then trying to go up against a keeper. You're forced to add that added element of pressure in the run up in 35 with all the time constraints and all that kind of stuff.
People would argue with you about saying an added element of pressure, because there's plenty of pressure on a penalty. There's a ton of pressure on a penalty.
Well, I'm just saying that there's the added act of run up and thought.
I know, but it doesn't change the pressure component. It changes the difficulty because it's much more of a toss-up, and you have a lot more strategy you can employ in how you do it. Go back and look at some of the guys. Jeff Agus did this. Carlos Alberto back in the old NASL days would do this. They'd pop the ball up and hit a half volley in this scenario. Others would take a shot quickly from distance. Others would try to dribble the keeper and run it up against the 5-second limit. You can take different strategies. Some would move a little to the side. Like, you can take different strategies.
Did it have to be off your foot in 5 seconds or cross the line in 5 seconds?
I think that changed in different leagues. I don't remember where it kind of finished. In my last big experience on a regular basis with shootouts was 95 Ruckus, where that's how they made the playoffs. They dominated the shootout situations. I think it had to be off your boot in 5, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't think it had to be in the back of the net or over the goal line, over the line. I don't think it had to be over the line by 5, but I think it had to be off your boot by 5, if I remember right.
5-yard shootout. I want that more.
Yeah, I do too. I want that too. Burn doesn't want to talk about Gareth Bale. Wales wants to talk about Gareth Bale all the time. Golf courses want to talk about Gareth Bale and the business that he will bring to them. Real Madrid does not want to talk about Gareth Bale.
Gareth Bale will not have to pay for a round of golf in Wales ever if this continues.
If this continues?
Ever, ever, ever.
John, he's never going to have to pay for anything in Wales, period. Already. He took them to a Euros. Like, he's good in Wales. He doesn't have to do anything else in Wales. In Madrid, no, he's going to have to buy everything.
Yeah.
In Wales, no, he's good already. He's fine. There's nothing else to continue. Modiflow, okay, thank you. Neither Romero is available, Jarrett. Sorry. They're actually playing well without each other, which is a good thing. The Toxic Twins are
that
not together.
Sounds about right, though. Like that
That's how
sounds.
it goes a lot
They
of
seem
times.
like the kind of you want to keep them separated.
Yes, you get that sometimes, and 100%. Modiflow does not like the MLS Next Pro font. I don't like. I like the numbers in it. I really do, because one, they're large. That's good.
Yes, large is good.
It took a minute to get used to the numbers. The text for the names is a little harder, but I like the numbers in it. Can we find a little in between? El Chiringuito wants to talk about Gareth Bale. Marco wants to talk about Gareth Bale. And Bale had some things to say, and I don't necessarily disagree with him, Jason Nix. He has been the whipping boy for a lot of the Madrid media, and it's been unfair. Whatever is going on with him and not playing for Madrid and where all that stands is also very weird and confusing, and that needs to be clarified. So probably both in the wrong here. But yeah, when you get into the numbers and you look at what he has done during his time in Madrid, it's been really good. It's not just what the team has done while he's been there, but what he's done as well. It's been really good. There's been a lot of overreactions to Gareth Bale and all of it, which some of that he has brought on himself. And in a big way, when you hold up a banner with your national team and it says Wales, Golf, Madrid in that order, and you agree to hold that up, yeah, you're not going to endear yourself to people in Madrid.
No.
That's to be understood too. When you have the video of him when I guess he was trying to force a move out, or they were talking about sending him out, and he was the captain in some friendly, and they handed him the team little banner that you exchanged with the other captain, and he looked at it like it was covered in something gross, and he didn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not going to help you either. But then his performances have also been really good, so it's very confusing, which, welcome to Spanish football. It's all about the same anyway. Anything else on your mind, Jarrett, before we go?
No, I mean, this is going to be a weird week for everybody because of now we get the whole, all the qualifiers. The Asian, don't sleep on the Asian qualifiers. You know, I know we talked about it. Don't sleep on them. They could get weird, really weird, really quick.
Don't sleep on what, Jared?
Asian qualifiers.
Well, there's only one or two games that matter. Like, none of the other games matter. It's 9:45 tomorrow, Iraq and Syria, and UAE and South Korea. Nothing else matters. I will not recommend people get up at 6:45 to watch Japan and Vietnam.
I mean, we got enough DJs that'll do it, though.
It doesn't matter. The game has no meaning. It's like a meaningless friendly, which I hate.
Yeah.
So no, do not waste your time. Wait to 9:45 and put them both up so you keep up with what's going on, because Iraq could play their way into the playoff against Australia. UAE is in that spot. They've got to get something against South Korea, who has been really good. That's intriguing for sure. The African games will be very intriguing. The South American games will be drunk.
Yes, that is true.
I would like to also point this out as well, because this was going around this weekend about Swiderski with Charlotte. Polish Federation came out and said there's no problem. Okay, cool. I'm making sure that was. I'm sorry, I missed that. I want to make sure it was discussed that the Polish Federation came out and it's like, we're cool.
The press officer for the
press officer did.
Yeah. He talked to the Charlotte Observer. So yeah, they could have called him in. They opted not to. That was their choice, and they decided, no, it's not worth the risk. We're not going to call him in. I think maybe they made the wrong choice, but that's the choice they made. So, that's where it went. What else, John, that we have not talked about that you want to finish with?
A couple other things on the Twitch pitch really quickly. Thomas Jewin asked if Mexico ends up in the playoffs somehow, will they fire Tata, bringing the next coach?
Yes.
Playoffs?
Yes. 100%.
And Sheath was asking about Atlanta United 2 stuff, specifically about Bryce Washington, if there was an injury update.
I do not know. I've not heard an update on Bryce Washington's injury situation. I do not know. I've wondered about that myself, but I don't know.
And I'm trying to look at see if there were any other topics in the Twitch pitch. I'm sure, of course, I will have naturally missed them, but those were the two that I had marked.
Kevin asks, why are soccer players so odd? Why are people so odd, Kevin? I think in like the Gareth Bale situation, you have Gareth Bale's probably odd in general.
Yes.
If he was an accountant, he'd be an odd accountant. I think it's just his personality. You had the Madrid media into it, which is insane to begin with. You add a show like El Chiringuito into it, which is even more insane than the regular Madrid media. And you add just the intense amount of interest and talk and pressure and all of it around a team like Real Madrid, and you get the Gareth Bale situation. But you get those in all sports too. I mean, we've seen odd individuals in American football, in baseball, in basketball, in other sports. It happens because you probably work with odd individuals in your day jobs as well, because sometimes we're all a little strange. As the door,
if you can't find the odd individual, guess what? It's you.
I mean, not always. It's not like there's one, so if there's not one there, that it's you. No, that's not fair.
It is for me. Because usually it's me.
Because you're the odd individual.
I thought I was the odd individual.
You're both odd individuals.
Oh, I found another one. I found another one on the Twitch
He
page.
doesn't argue it. Neither
I'm not
one of
going
them
to argue
argue
that.
it, by
No,
the
of
way.
course not.
They're both like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Why do you think I enjoyed the Soccer in the Streets offices so much? It felt like it felt natural.
So you're
like
saying that
being
everybody
among
was
your own.
odd?
Yes, everyone was odd and wonderful. I loved it all. Loved everybody.
Yep.
I think I'm the least odd. I think. I'm not the most odd. I feel safe in saying that.
That is true. I mean, we all have our percentages of odd, and I think it's safe to say that you are the least odd.
I think I'm the least odd. I'll take that.
Found my other question from the Twitch pitch, and I'll give it to both of you here. Most underrated USMNT player. Pilgrim's 10-year-old is loving watching the MNT games lately, and his favorite is Anthony Robinson. Favorite is Jedi. Imagine that for a 10-year-old, but the dude seems like an unsung hero at times.
Most underrated, and I'll go with like I'm not going to say somebody like Christian Roldan, who is, I do believe, underrated, but isn't playing a lot. Out of the regulars, let me pull up qualifying.
Walker?
Have you paid attention to the media on Walker these days?
I mean, initially going in, everybody, and I'm taking the whole. I'm taking the whole from Walker coming in, being put in, and being put into the lineup immediately.
Yeah, but now he's not underrated by any stretch.
Definitely should not be. No,
they're talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock on Te'ise right now. Good grief.
Of course they are.
I'd love for cheering. I wonder what Il Chiringuito says about
it. They'll have something about it. Okay, let's take the lineup yesterday for the U.S. Who is the most underrated of the guys who were on
Jill
the
agrees
field?
with me about the Soccer in the Streets office. I feel vindicated.
I still say I'm the least odd of any of
it's
either
very
one
possible.
of these situations.
It's very possible. That was a very odd office. It was wonderful.
It's probably why I've become more odd over the years.
You and Ricardo were probably the two most normal people.
That might be true. The odd is contagious, I'm starting to learn. I will say the most underrated starter from last night's U.S. men's national team game was, all right, I'll go ahead and do it since I wanted to tick off everybody on the Bird app to start the show. Paul Areola. Show that man some respect.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most underrated of that group. Doesn't mean he should start every game. Don't get me wrong, but most underrated of that group and one of the most underrated players in the national team pool.
Storm Chaser Kevin is asking if Walker's too old for Europe.
Nobody, I think, is. I think we need to stop with that idea. Does it limit his opportunities? Yeah, 100% it does. Does it limit how much the money would be? Yes. But if he was signed, could he go to Europe and do well? Yeah, he could, 100%. Are there going to be a whole bunch of clubs that are going to come in for him? No, because of his age. No. But nobody's too old for nothing anymore. I think the way the game is and the way MLS is looked at, we can throw the old stereotypes out. Don't take that to say that Walker's going to play in the Premier League next year. It's got to be the right situation. It's got to be the right fit, and it's got to be the right move for him and everybody involved. But could he go and do it? Yes. And I'd love to see him get that opportunity if he wanted it. I don't know if he wants it. I don't know if he's had opportunities. I don't know if he's had the opportunity to go play for a League One team. If he did, he probably shouldn't go. I think that's where the delineation happens is if you're young and up and coming, you might go to a smaller team to get there and have the opportunity and grow and move into a bigger team there. If you're somebody like Walker, who's an established guy in MLS, a star in MLS, a star in Nashville where he's at, why would you go to a team that draws 5,000 people a game and plays in a second or third division? Why would you leave Nashville?
No offense to Plymouth Argyle, but it doesn't do you any good.
No, I'm trying to offend Plymouth Argyle, actually. So just to be clear.
Well, yeah, but to your point, it doesn't serve a successful MLS player anymore, I don't think, just to jump and go to your insert League One franchise here, just because it's England and you've got to play in League One or you've got to play the champion. No, it doesn't. No, you don't have to do that anymore.
It would need for Walker to go to England. Walker would need to go to a team that is on the cusp of getting promoted to the Premier League. If he's going to a championship team, he shouldn't go anywhere lower than that. Or a lower to mid-tier Premier League team, and he could go and he could play and he could do well. But if he gets the opportunity, happy for him. If he doesn't, that's not a blemish on his career. I think that idea has to go away too. And yeah, maybe because I'm feeling my age at times, Katie. That's why nobody's too old for nothing.
There you go. Turner with a question. I'll give it to both of you.
Okay.
If you had one national stadium that the U.S. would play all their matches at.
You never will because the country's so big, though.
Which one would it be?
If I had to pick one, so I only get to play them in one place. I want it to be as accessible as possible. And it's for games that matter. It's not for like a friendly where I'm going to put it places to draw a whole bunch of people. Kansas City. If I'm going to make people travel, I'm going to make them all travel about the same.
Yeah.
And the Midwest is going to be very happy with that. But it's impossible to do with a country this size. It just is. You shouldn't ever consider that. But yeah, if I got to pick one, I'll go Kansas City.
Yeah, my initial thought would have been something like Centene just because it's centralized. But yeah, you're right. More on it. Jarrett, what do you think?
If I don't have to care about the fact that America is impossible to travel across in a reasonable amount of time, Portland.
Maybe. I don't. It's been a long time since they've been in Portland, actually.
I know. When Bart and I built our mock last year for this cycle for the octagonal, Portland was my last home game. Like the idea that if USA does well and that last home game doesn't matter, you basically treat Portland like a coronation.
I'm not as gung-ho that Portland is the greatest experience in American soccer as some. I'm not. I love the stadium. I've been there one time. Loved calling a game from there. It's got a completely different feel than other stadiums. But I think the experience you get from the atmosphere and from the crowd, you get it in a whole lot of different places around this country. So,
oh yeah,
like I don't know. I'm not against it. I'm not like overwhelmingly like, yeah, Portland's the greatest. No, not really. I think there's other great experiences in this country and probably some better ones.
Hey, Mataflo, I love Montreal and the poutine too. It's not just Jason.
Yes, I do love Montreal.
Stade is wonderful. I love Stade Saputo. It's a great.
Stade Saputo
is
my favorite.
A little bit bigger, but it's a wonderful stadium.
Hopefully, the local government will cooperate with Joey Saputo and let him add more to the stadium because that's where it holds up right now. He wants to expand it and add some, I think, upgrades to it. And there's been a lot of back and forth. I love that venue. That is my favorite outside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the league. And it's just very like I like the vibe. I like the stadium, like the booth. You feel like you're in like a ski lodge because it's got like wood paneling in the booth. It's amazing. The sight lines are great. It's just a great venue. Love it. It is my favorite.
And Pilgrim, I don't know, man, about
I don't think we
I
can
don't know
annex
about
Montreal
Nashville,
though, Mataflo, because of the whole French thing. That might get weird.
Look, man, go look up the Quiet Revolution and tell me how you think it's going to go if we try and annex Montreal into another country. Go see how Quebec's going to feel about not only not getting independence, but getting wrapped into another country.
I ain't
Quebec
dealing
ain't
with that
about
one.
that life.
I ain't dealing with that.
Pilgrim, I don't know about Nashville, man. Just because I want to see what I want to see the whole experience of the new stadium first.
Yeah.
It's going to be it could be a really good shout down the line, though. Portland for me is just it is a unique experience. It's a unique town. You're kind of in the trees, isolated from a lot of places. You get some weird weather in the Northwest. I don't hate Kansas City. Red Bull Arena would be an interesting shout.
No.
You really don't think so?
No, I love the stadium. It's just, no, they haven't done enough to make that a national stadium of any sort.
I'm trying to think where else. Let's see.
I mean, I was just thinking in a centralized manner, and like I said, I mean,
That's why I thought Kansas City.
Jason has Kansas City. I was thinking St. Louis.
And Kevin, I think is the final going to be played at Jerry World 26? If they
have not decided yet, Jared.
I would imagine Jerry World's going to be in that conversation.
No, I don't. I mean,
Really?
It's in the conversation, but it's going to be either New York or LA.
MetLife would make sense, I guess.
I think it's going to be in
If you would
MetLife.
do
That's
New
what I
York.
said at the beginning. I think it'll be at MetLife because in '94 it was in LA. I don't think they'll give 2 finals to LA.
You could play it in the Rose Bowl if you wanted to, but then people get really.
It's where you did the final last time. I think you'll do it somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think people get sideways about the idea of playing the final in LA because you have such a unique situation where it's easy for visiting fans to come take over, which, hey, U.S. Soccer, make your tickets more affordable. Let's start there.
Well, no. Okay, you're throwing like 50 things into one bag, Jared, and you lit it on fire. The
You're
World
welcome.
Cup final has nothing to do with U.S. Soccer and visiting fans. Zero. The World Cup final is about how much money can FIFA make in the biggest place and nicest place possible. It's a different conversation. U.S. Soccer does not have games in giant stadiums in Los Angeles against teams like Mexico that matter because you're not going to have Mexican fans buy a bunch of tickets.
Right.
The whole ticket pricing thing is a whole different topic for U.S. men's national team games. You just lit everything on fire that had nothing to do with any of what we were talking about. Jared.
Yes, Coco, I'm choosing violence on a Monday morning because
Good grief. And yes, I agree with everybody that U.S. Soccer should stop being cowards and make Atlanta the national venue of choice, and just do it and get over it. And yes, bow down and such.
Oh, we're going to get weird. We're going to make everybody play at Georgia State Stadium too. We're going to put natural grass down there and make everybody go down to the 10.
That'd be interesting.
Oh, that would be the time. I would have the time of my life. Drag everyone back into Turner Field, hand them a beer, and hey, we're back, back like we never left.
Okay.
Coco, we can take this on the Discord because we have gone over this many times, and I'm happy to discuss it many more times about which SEC venue deserves to host national team games.
But you guys are talking about two different things.
I know. That's what I'm saying. We'll take it to the Discord.
But even in what you just said, it's different than what Coco said. Coco's talking about taking a World Cup game to Baton Rouge. You're talking about taking U.S. national team games. That's a completely different process. Can you guys agree on what you're going to argue about on the Discord first?
Of course not.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
If the time was real, you're happy. I'm always happy to walk this. If for no other reason, like get me a loud stadium where things get weird and you have some magic.
Sounds like Baton Rouge to you, sir.
The stadium
for U.S. Soccer, it's
it's two different things.
It was Mopfrey for the longest time.
Yeah,
there was Juju at Mopfrey.
In the World Cup in '94, the stadium that kind of had that vibe was the Cotton Bowl, where you had some wild games there. You had some like memorable games at the Cotton Bowl. It felt like everything got crazy. They also played them at like noon, so it was 150 degrees. Lots of stuff with that. But the World Cup venues, I will end with this little tale. Four Card mentioned Bobby Dodd. First off, you'd have to do so much to Bobby Dodd to make it wide enough to do World Cup games. That'd be a whole nother conversation. But in '94, when they were preparing everything, or way before '94, it was honestly like 90 and 91, where they went through a ton of different possible venues for the '94 World Cup. The U.S. Soccer Federation was like basically run by volunteers at this point. So it was not always the easiest process to do this stuff. They wanted to be in Atlanta. They wanted the International Broadcast Center to be in Atlanta. They weren't able to do that because the only venue that they could do it, again, projecting to 94, was Bobby Dodd. They had a FIFA visit at Bobby Dodd. This is when Bobby Dodd was AstroTurf, like old AstroTurf. This is when it was giant crowned, as Jared is typing like a maniac in the Discord, probably. Right, Jared?
I have thoughts.
Jeez. Think about muting your mic.
Coco is also living in a desert of the sport, so to speak, because he has the New Orleans gestures, and that's about it, unless he goes in the college route.
Yes.
So I think he's
we'll try to get soccer to Coco.
Put an MLS team in New Orleans, and I will show you what rivalries look like.
Yes. Coco is also
going to forget about Nashville, Charlotte, and Orlando real damn fast if you put a team in New Orleans.
Maybe. Coco's also going to have a piece at soccerdownhere.net about the Argentine Copa de la Liga as it returns this upcoming weekend. So be on the lookout for that. So Bobby Dodd was the Atlanta option for the World Cup in 94. And when they came to look at it, they took FIFA reps there. And Georgia Tech was finishing a football practice or as a spring practice or something. So you walk out on this field and it's AstroTurf and it's narrow and it's crowned. And then these offensive linemen walk by in like giant pads and the FIFA people are like, what in the hell? No. Can we leave now, please?
Yeah.
And then they went to the venue that they wanted to have the final at. At that time, it was Joe Robbie Stadium. This was when it was only used by the Dolphins. It was before, so I think it was 90 because it was before the Marlins existed. That was where they wanted to have the final for the 94 World Cup because that stadium, in a lot of ways, was based off of the San Siro. And FIFA loved it, and they wanted the final in Miami. And that was the initial plan for a long time. And then the Marlins came into existence, and they weren't going to be able to get Joe Robbie for any extended period of time during the tournament. They tried to get it for a game or two. They couldn't make that happen with baseball's schedule. Baseball's like, yeah, what's this World Cup thing? Shut up. We don't care. Then they tried to have games at the Orange Bowl at the last minute, which they had a bunch of international games at the Orange Bowl. But at that time in 94, the Orange Bowl wasn't really the best place to have a World Cup game. So Miami bounced out. Tampa Bay thought they were going to get games. They had been one of the first sites to really go for it. Looked like Tampa would get World Cup games. And everybody's like, why is Orlando even bidding? Like, what does Orlando have? Who are these people? They were very quiet in all of it. They were the ones that put together a better bid. They were the ones that took advantage of the Miami situation falling apart, and they beat out Tampa. And that probably kickstarted the whole process of Orlando being a player in American soccer circles, was the Visitors and Convention Bureau saying, hey, we can actually do this. And we have the Citrus Bowl, and we can have games in Florida when it looks like, Florida would be left out, and FIFA wanted to be in Florida, and they got games at the Citrus Bowl, and it opened a lot of eyes to what could come. And that's probably why you played last night in some roundabout way in Orlando at a beautiful stadium. And it's why that they have grown into what they've grown into, was their Visitors and Convention Bureau beat out Tampa, and Miami fell apart because of the Marlins. Can blame it all on that.
A lot of folks can blame Wayne Huizenga for a lot of things where Miami and the Marlins are concerned.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic for another show. You can have Wayne Huizenga down here on Wednesdays at 5:15 a.m. Enjoy it if you want to check that out. You can go on the network and check out our show from Georgia Alliance on Saturday, where we were freezing because it was crazy windy. But on Twitch, you can actually go and check that out. We put the Greg Garza interview up as a podcast. That was a really good conversation with Greg, presented by our new supporters of our live shows, Kaiser Permanente. That was great to have Kaiser Permanente make their debut with us in crazy wind temperatures to where we had to be very careful about their tent blowing away. That was nuts. Then we had a show yesterday. I went down to Peachtree City at Lion Creek. It was great to see Ali Cupertino and see some other folks who listened to the show down in Peachtree City. And Will Turpin sat in with me for the whole show. If you don't know Will Turpin, he is the bassist for Collective Soul, and he is a gigantic soccer fan. And he played the role of John Nelson yesterday. That was different. That was very different.
So was Will completely involved in non sequiturs down here as well?
At times, yes. At times there was some of that. But he also had some stories that, John, you just don't have.
No.
We were able to talk about Collective Soul at the Fox Theater in 97 or 98 when they invited fans up on the stage and it went completely insane. He was able to tell stories about being on tour with Van Halen, and it was very cool. Now, it was a fun conversation about music, about soccer. We had Bunky Colvin at McIntosh High School on. There's a big game that's going to be our SDH game of the week this week. McIntosh and Stars Mill. It is a huge rivalry in the state of Georgia. They met in the final on the boys' side a couple of years ago. It was one of the crazier games that we've called. They do a lot of really cool stuff, raising money for veterans, for first responders. As part of this game, they've done that for a long time. So we're happy to be part of it. That's on Thursday, and we had a nice preview of that yesterday on the network. So you can check out that podcast. You can watch it on Twitch. So very busy stuff this past weekend. You can catch up on all that on the network. And then we got more coming tonight. Soccer over there. All the ridiculousness will be back tonight as we try to make sense of World Cup qualifying. I'm sure Mr. Alifi will have some thoughts. I am sure he will have some thoughts about Italy and their capitulation to North Macedonia. We will have picks of the week, all the things tonight at 7:05 on the network. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Thanks to Bart for joining us. He had more of a voice than I thought he would. I was a little worried that he would not be able to speak this morning.
Yep.
But thanks, everybody, for being part of it. Thanks for the conversation this morning. We'll be back at 7:05 for soccer over there. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.